Hi everyone, I'm Mary Schumann. I am a realtor here in the Twin Cities, and today I am bringing you an interview with one of my former clients. Her name is Amber. She made the move here from Texas, and today you'll get her perspective on what it's like to go from a warm southern state to the far north of the United States and relocate to Minneapolis, Minnesota. Amber's going to bring a little bit of a different perspective to this because my previous interviews have been with people that moved to the suburbs, and Amber actually lives in the city of Minneapolis. So I hope you enjoy this and reach out if you have questions. I would love to talk to you. Why Minnesota? Like, what made you move here in the first place? Is this something that was ever on your radar, or is it just something that came up because of work? Or
it was never on my radar.
Just like me.
Being born and raised in Austin, Texas. In fact, years ago when I asked my husband, like, where might we be transferred? He mentioned Minneapolis.
Oh, he did?
And I said, please God, not
there.
Minneapolis. Please not Minnesota, because my concept, having not ever visited, was that it was just like an Arctic tundra.
All year round, right? That's
Year
what
round.
Everybody thinks. Even my friends in Ohio say that. They're like, "Oh my gosh, isn't it cold? Is it cold here?"
In the winter, it's cold.
But what was your experience with summer here?
It's incredible. I never, ever want to do another Texas summer ever again.
And it's not. I mean, for you probably don't think it's that hot. I think it's hot in the summer. I mean, it's in the 90s.
I'm definitely, we've
acclimated.
We've become Minnesotans, and like the days that we had that were above 90 this summer, I was like, why? Why?
And my clients down in Texas right now, they're all like, it finally went down to 90.
Mm-hmm.
It feels so good. I'm thinking, whoa, no thank you. So he said Minnesota was a possibility.
Yep. And then years later, when it became a real possibility and we were kind of like ready to leave Austin, I really started to do some in-depth research and was pleasantly surprised with what I found about the city and about Minnesota. And we came April of 2022 to do kind of a reconnaissance trip.
Is that when I met up with you?
Yep.
Or is that, okay.
That's when you met us for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
We, even the first week in April, we found the area to be beautiful, and
spring is not our prettiest season.
Well, it was like right between winter and spring. Mm-hmm. So I could still see the beauty and potential.
Yeah.
The first week
from here.
in April, yes.
So it was work related.
Yes.
And where did you end up living here? Because most of my clients are moving and they gravitate toward the suburbs for one reason or another. Maybe it's close to work. Maybe they like the school system out there. But you had a different experience and choice.
Yeah, we chose to live in Minneapolis proper, and we love the neighborhood we chose.
Is it a charred wasteland though? I thought
No.
Minneapolis was missing now.
No, it's
I heard
actually
that it burned to the ground.
No,
It didn't?
no, it's actually
That's shocking.
quite charming, and I rarely get in my car anymore, which is fabulous because in Austin I drove everywhere and I sat in my car for long periods of time, but I can run almost all of my errands on foot now.
Yeah, you really picked, like, I would say, one of the prettiest and most
It's idyllic.
accessible neighborhoods in the city. Do you mind mentioning what neighborhood you're in?
Yeah, we're in the Fulton neighborhood, right near 50th and France, and less than a mile from Lake Harriet, which has turned into our happy place.
That's my lake.
It's our lake.
So you, I mean, even in the winter, you're out walking around and stuff?
We even go to the lake in the winter.
Me too. I love it. Okay.
Walk on the lake in the winter.
Yes,
When it's frozen.
So I have a client coming in from another one from Texas. They were here this weekend, and they are looking at a condo right on Lake Harriet. And they said they were asking me. I'm like, look, winter doesn't shut us down here.
No.
In fact, that lake has festivals and everything happening on the lake in the winter. And she looked at me like I was crazy, but I'm like, there's busy.
Snowshoeing still. People get fat tire bikes and ride around the lake. Cross-country skiers.
The dog walkers are out there all the time with their groups of...
I see them 10 deep.
Yeah, 3 people in a row with 10 or more dogs.
Yep.
It cracks me up. The dogs are so well behaved. I'm always shocked by that.
I love in the winter that Lake Harriet becomes kind of an unofficial off-leash dog park. And dogs just run their hearts out.
And she means running on the lake.
On the lake.
Like an open
frozen
field.
Lake.
Yes.
Yep.
It's a different world up here.
Some items of concern were that the market was changing. Would we be able to sell our house in Austin in time to be able to purchase a home here? Because ideally we wanted to purchase a home before fall and winter.
And what month did you move in? I'm trying to remember.
We moved here Memorial Day weekend of last year.
But the house didn't close
until July.
Okay, it was
July 20th. And just working with a relocation company was a bit tricky because it's like having a third party involved, and you have to get approval from them for just about everything. And it's good because it's a security net for corporate moves, but it sometimes can be a pain, yeah.
So they helped you, though, with short-term housing.
Correct.
So you didn't have to worry about that piece.
No, we felt very fortunate to be able to kind of have a place to land.
And did you how did you do it? Were you in pads, or were there actual movers? What happened with your stuff?
There was an actual moving company, and they packed our house and took it to Houston, where there's a mega storage facility. Parked it there. And then once we had a closing date here, then they proceeded to pack our belongings and trucks and then drive them from Houston to Minneapolis.
You've been here more than a year. So I want to hit some of the hot topics from people that live in Texas or other southern states that seem to freak them out big time about Minneapolis or Minnesota. And I think the number one thing is the weather. And you actually just went through, we had kind of a doozy.
Yeah.
So how did you, that was your first winter here though, so you probably didn't know that it was as bad as it was.
No, we were in ignorant bliss. We were just there's more snow, but we had nothing to compare it to. So when it would snow, you just clear it and go about your day. There's nothing you can do about it. And you just have to find the joys of winter. And we took cross-country ski lessons. We bought snowshoes.
Do you like cross-country skiing?
It's challenging.
I say that people in Minnesota don't react to winter really at all. As far as nobody really talks about it or gets worked up about snow, or they kind of act okay, next. They're not, it's just every day, a normal everyday thing.
I agree with that. But Minnesotans love to talk about the weather, no matter what time of year it is. When I'm running errands sometimes,
that's true, I guess.
Everybody wants to talk about the weather. But I feel
I think that's an opening line to try and be friendly.
Yes, I would agree with that. But I do feel Minnesotans in the winter especially are extremely resilient and unfazed by temperature or amount of snow.
What advice would you give to people that are coming up here from Texas? What do you think is the best way to be ready for winter?
So it's hard to start thinking about acquiring winter gear in August and September, but that's actually the perfect time to start shopping for things in Minnesota and in Texas. I would have never thought about acquiring anything for winter in August or September. It would be more like November, December. But right after Labor Day, the season definitely starts to change. You also want to get first dibs on certain styles and colors, and like our first year, we, had to kind of invest in a lot of things we never needed in Texas, and so I'm so glad that we took extra time to kind of curate our winter wear.
And I would say buying at least, pretty good quality is important, because that's going to be the difference between your comfort and discomfort level.
Yeah.
Anything that you wish you had known before you moved? You're like, no, I did my research.
I did do a lot of research. I wanted to know what I was getting myself into. I didn't want to just show up and just, just not know anything. So I just made sure that I researched like the state of Minnesota, Minneapolis, and then I kind of condensed it down to 3 neighborhoods that we really liked in Minneapolis. And then we came for a long weekend and we walked each neighborhood at all hours of the day,
And you maintained that geographic area.
Yeah.
So what typically happens with people that I meet is they have an idea of where they want to live based on something. It could be a video they watched or whatever. But then when they get here, they see something else, or maybe the neighborhood isn't exactly what they thought when they were watching online. So they change, but you didn't change. You stuck with your original plan, and you were able to get in there. And that's great, because really, if I was going to pick some place to live in Minneapolis, it would be in Fulton, Linden Hills, any of those neighborhoods by the lakes. So is there any piece of advice that you would give somebody?
Just to be open-minded, and your preconceived notions about Minneapolis and Minnesota are probably not true.
What kind of preconceived notions?
Just that, it's winter year-round, because it's like a lot of people from the South have like this. They think the Midwest is like barren. There's, nothing to do. It's this like tundra of ice.
A wasteland.
Yeah, it's a wasteland. There's no good food. It's just like pies and tater tots. And
nothing wrong with pies and tater tots.
No, but the food scene in Minneapolis is unreal, and we were pleasantly surprised by that. We've also been pleasantly surprised by the amount of things to do year-round. Like, Minnesotans love festivals. They love to get together outside year-round.
So this is another thing that I hear other people say, and I've said it, which is people that are native to this area, they don't realize what they have.
Yes.
They take it for granted because
I would
they've
agree
never
with
been
that.
somewhere else, and they don't know, what it's like to live in another area.
The quality of life here is incredible. Like, we love that we can get pretty much anywhere within 15 minutes or less.
It's huge.
The traffic here compared to Austin is lovely. Just the things to do, the 4 seasons, there's always something to look forward to.
So when you were coming up, so what made you think about those neighborhoods that you had kind of targeted? And so what are the characteristics of those neighborhoods that you thought this would make a great place for us?
So we came from new construction in Austin, which is super common. The areas in Austin that we would love to live in that are more walkable and with older homes with character are extremely expensive. And so we really zeroed in on the 3 neighborhoods we kind of mentioned: Linden Hills, Fulton, and Lyndhurst.
So you like the historic homes?
We love the historic homes. Our home is 100 years old, and we love the walkability of the neighborhood, proximity to some of the best restaurants in the city, great shopping. I can walk to my eye doctor. I can walk to my dermatologist. I can walk to my dentist. It's
And not to
excellent.
mention walking to the lake and just
Yes.
being able to do that alone, I think makes it worth it.
Mhm.
People are very lake oriented here, but when you live in this, so if people are choosing between Minneapolis and St. Paul for city life, this was a question that I had from somebody else too. I think the number one thing that differentiates the two, I mean, it's a little less expensive in St. Paul, but over here we have the lakes where they don't have the lakes. And that to me is a big deal because I really just love to be out walking around those lakes or biking around those lakes.
Yes.
You know,
Same.
So you guys got bikes after you
Yep.
moved here, and do you
Yep.
use it?
Yep.
Or you do. Okay.
We love our bikes.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and that's one of the things that I think is kind of unusual about Minnesota too. Is like the bike culture here
Yeah.
is so strong that people really want to be out there on them all year round.
Yeah.
Do you still deal with people that think you were nuts to do this?
Yes. Like when...
Did you meet a lot of resistance in Texas about the idea of moving to Minnesota?
Yes.
Okay.
Because of what they had seen on the news.
You mean with the protests? And
Yes.
Okay.
And also, like, maybe they've seen, like, one photo of our winter here, but they don't see, like, the culture that surrounds it. Like, kind of, like, we've
They
kind
don't
of...
understand.
Yeah, like, we've really embraced, like, the kind of hygge aspect
Yeah?
of winter.
Why don't you tell what that means? That's it's Hygge, so and that means like
Cozy.
Cozy.
And it encourages you to embrace winter and to, you know, like source like soft, warm textiles and like dimly lit candles and
Yes.
like twinkly lights and like get yourself a good book and curl up and read
Have
or
a nice hot drink. And,
yes,
Yeah.
build a fire.
It's really part of the culture, and we love that too. We brought everybody up here yet, or not?
My sister and my niece came mid-December last year, and it was snowy and cold. My sister thought it was cold. My niece thought it was cold, but my niece also said that it looked like Christmas time, and I was like, accurate. It does look like Christmas time. We took them to an ice bar, and
I remember seeing
they
pictures.
they thought that was super cool. And it was very cold that night, but by the end of their trip, they had definitely acclimated, and when they went home, their concept of cold
had changed.
in Texas in mid-December was much different. And I kind of kept telling them, like, your body acclimates. You also just need to dress appropriately. Layers your friend. And they definitely could see, like, why my husband's sister and her husband and their boy-girl twins in June of this year, and they from New Jersey, and they also were very pleasantly surprised. And then we had some more friends from Texas in July, and they absolutely loved it. And they have a daughter, and they were very surprised by how kid and family friendly Minneapolis and Minnesota are.
I think that's something that people put a really big effort into here.
Yeah, it's a very community-oriented, family-friendly city and state.
Is there anything else that you want to add that you thought, like, this would be something people might be interested in knowing, or?
Coming from Central Texas, like, there's definitely beautiful things about Central Texas, like bluebonnets, the hill country, the lakes there. But my husband and I have been so amazed by the foliage here and what grows naturally and how lush it is.
A lot of water here.
A lot of water, and how things can grow, you know, in spring coming out of dormancy, and then in summer it's just like big beautiful full trees and all these amazing flowers. It's just a really beautiful place.
This is a glowing review. Is there anything that's bad?
Bad. mean, if I've taken this much time to respond, like...
You're having a hard time thinking of it? Come on.
Yeah.
Think of something.
I mean...
Have you been victimized by the Minnesota passive aggressiveness yet?
If I have, I've been in ignorant bliss about it, and I just don't really care. But I found everybody to be very kind and helpful, but you get what you put out. And so I have zero expectations of Minnesotans, as everyone should, no matter where they relocate, right. Have no expectations. And then that leaves room to be pleasantly surprised.
Also, I think what you just said is the most important thing, because people make a joke about Minnesotans being like friendly, but like not like maybe inviting you in their house or whatever, or maybe it's difficult to make friends here because everybody's so tightly knit with their own community. And I think what you just said is the most important thing. It's like people are people everywhere. You're not going to get like if I was in Ohio, nobody's going to like be my buddy just because they're Ohioan. They're going to be your friend because you actually try to get to know them, get yourself involved with things, you know, stuff like that. So that's my impression, and I just think, you know, one of the things that I admire about all the people that are moving here, that I've helped anyway, like all of them, to a T, have really like decided, like, I'm going to use this opportunity to like do all kinds of things and meet all kinds of people. And I think when you have that open mindset about it, it really invites people in. Like, they're excited that you're excited, and they're like, yeah, that's fun, let's do it, you know, like.
Well, and I've found that Minnesotans have been pleasantly surprised by how, like, we've embraced the culture here and the seasons, and that, you know, we're positive and open and
not criticizing their state.
No, and it's taken us far. And also, one thing to add is that's part of kind of why we chose to live in Minneapolis, is because homes are closer together. Like, there's sidewalks, and we landed on an incredible block that's super social, and like, it's been kind of easy to be social. In fact, sometimes we will go to dinner through our alleyway so that we can avoid being stopped by neighbors, because you won't make your reservation.
Gotta chat about the weather. It is good, and I think, I think that's a big misconception, and I do agree. So I'm really glad that you brought that up about Minneapolis, because, you know, when people are trying to decide where they're going to live, of course, there's all different kinds of factors that go into it, right? But oftentimes people don't even give Minneapolis a chance. Because of something they saw in the news or whatever. And I guess I really wanted to talk to somebody that did decide to give Minneapolis a chance and see, you know, what the perspective is, because it's been a positive one for me, and I moved in from out of state. And yes, it was traumatizing during the protest over George Floyd's murder and all that stuff, but we're still here. City's still standing, everybody's still here. So I
mean, we moved here a year and a half ago, but I've seen the community, I mean, we weren't present for that, but I've definitely seen the community like fight hard to rebuild and come together, and I feel like Minneapolis is a pretty resilient city, and
it's also pretty socially conscious in general.
Correct.
Like, I think people just really want it to work.
Yeah, and be able to live together and be respectful of the many cultures.
Thank you very much for doing this. I appreciate it so much. I mean, this, honestly, videos of people that are talking about their experience they're the number one thing on my channel that people watch. They love it. They want to hear it.